You're in for a real treat this afternoon. Rosa Koire is here, and she was so generous to come speak to us, and she's going to be here a couple more days. And just so you folks know, she's going to be speaking privately, actually, tomorrow with a lot of our state representatives in Concord at the LOB building, but that's private, it's not open to the public. We have a lot of state reps that are on board with the United Nations Agenda 21, and I'm sure Rosa's presentation is going to solidify a lot more of those folks. Tuesday night, 6:30, Rosa's going to be speaking at the Kingswood Arts Center in Wolfboro. So if any of you know people up that way, Lakes region, make sure that they come out and see Rosa. Very quickly, my name is Jack Campbell. I am the chairman of the Granite State Patriots Liberty PAC. A lot of you know me, some of you don't. But I am also a resident of Dover. A few months ago, I got involved with United Nations Agenda 21, and Rick and Mary Hevitt, who have been very, very aware and involved with it for quite some time, also came to my house. We wound up teaming up and doing some research and getting involved at the city council meetings, planning board, and transportation committee meetings. I'm going to let Rosa talk to you in depth about what the United Nations Agenda 21 is and what it is going to do not only to our local communities but to our state and our country. What I'm going to do is get right to it. I'm going to introduce you to Rosa, give you a little bit of her background, and we'll get going with the program. Rosa Koire, ASA, is a forensic commercial real estate appraiser specializing in eminent domain valuation. Her nearly 30 years of experience analyzing land use and property value enabled her to recognize the planning revolution sweeping the nation. While fighting to stop a huge redevelopment project in her city, she researched the corporate, political, and financial interests behind it and found United Nations Agenda 21. Rosa speaks across the nation and is a regular blogger on her website, Democrats Against United Nations Agenda 21. .com. Please put your hands together. The big, warm New Hampshire welcome for Rosa Koire.
Hi. Great. All right. And I think, are we plugged in there? Or we are. Good. Wow, great to see you guys. It's such a beautiful day, and I'm so glad that you've decided to spend some of your Sunday with me and with all of your neighbors and in focusing on something that is so incredibly, incredibly important to all of us. And I'm hoping that this isn't the first time that you've heard about it, but if it is, if you find out that whoever you're sitting next to is hearing this for the first time, make sure you put your arm around them and make them feel okay, because this is some heavy stuff we're going to be talking about today. And when after my introduction as a forensic commercial real estate appraiser, I'm sure people are going, forensic, you know, is that like, does that have to do with digging bodies up or something like that? And what it is, forensics is, you know, is law. And what I do is I am an expert witness. I testify in court on land use and property value. And that is how I came to find United Nations Agenda 21 Sustainable Development. So one thing that I'd like to say before I get going here is that for those of you who came because you want to know about the Dover Scenic Byway, I want you to know that everything I'm going to be talking about today is related to the Dover Scenic Byway. So just in case you're thinking, when is she going to get to it? I'm talking about it the whole time. And as I said, I actually have just retired, but I have testified in court a lot and been deposed, and I understand and know from doing that for many years that it's not about my opinion, it's about fact. And if I can't prove it, I don't talk about it. So everything I'm talking about today is documented, and if I'm speculating, I will tell you. I'll let you know. So I told you that always happens to me. It does. There's something about my body and electronic things. I don't know what. Okay. So I know that you're here because you have a deep commitment to private property rights. And we all know that private property includes our bodies. Our bodies are our most important private property. Our intellectual property, our physical bodies, and our freedom as defined and guaranteed by our Constitution. So I'm kind of accustomed to being out on the edge because I'm out talking about United Nations Agenda 21, Sustainable Development. And this is the kind of thing that you may have heard about, you may have read about it in the paper, you may have heard people talked about, heard them called conspiracy theorists, had people say that maybe somebody's got a tinfoil hat on or got a black helicopter hovering over their head or something like that. That is so yesterday. Because that, this is not a theory. This is a fact. Yes, it is a conspiracy. It is real. The incredible truth is that this has been out there for 20 years, and most of us were completely unaware of it. And that is what's really incredible about most of what you're going to hear. And it's true. So you're going to find yourselves deeply at odds with, completely, deeply concerned by the agenda for the 21st century. And that's what it's called by the UN and by the nations that have signed on to it. That agenda for the 21st century, Agenda 21. It's not Area 51, it's not Catch 22. It's Agenda 21, the agenda for the 21st century. That's what it's called by the UN. So this is not something that, just a bunch of people are out there making up. This is real. It is a blueprint. It's the action plan to inventory and control all land, all water, all plants, all animals, all minerals, all construction, all means of production, all energy, all information, and all human beings in the world. It doesn't get any more comprehensive than that, does it? I mean, I don't know if they're out there on the moon yet, but it's not for lack of trying. So this is a transition from representative government to government by unelected boards and commissions. This is an erasure of our jurisdictional boundaries. It's a loss of private property rights and freedom, personal property, and it's ultimately a loss of sovereignty. And when you think about sovereignty, when you think about the individual's ability to control what happens on that individual's person, and then you extend that out to your borders of your nation, that is your sovereignty. This is vital. So you're going to be concerned about this not just as Americans, but as free human beings. And this is a world plan. So United Nations Agenda 21, Sustainable Development, it was signed on to by 179 nations, including the United States, in 1992 at the United Nations Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. George H.W. Bush signed us on, committed the United States to this agreement. It is not a treaty, did not have to be ratified by our Senate. It's been implemented in our country, and it has been supported by every president ever since. 2 Bushes, a Clinton, and an Obama. It's a global plan, but it's implemented locally. And this is what you need to know about it. It is implemented locally. It is in every single city, town, hamlet in the entire United States right now. We're not talking about something that's out there in the ether that's not impacting you today. It is happening now. So, I'm sure you probably know, or you may not know, that yesterday was the last day of the 20th anniversary of the Rio de Janeiro Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, and they did it again. They had their 20th anniversary meeting. They got together, all these nations down there in Rio. And if you read, I don't know if I haven't seen the local paper, but I was just in Miami, speaking in Miami, and somebody sent me the Miami Herald, and they're saying, excuse me, that it's a failure. Oh, it's a failure. Didn't go so well. Don't believe that. That's a lie. this is one of those things that they do to say, don't look behind the curtain there. Nothing happening here, folks. Move along, right? It was not a failure. In fact, what the 20th anniversary of Rio was all about was to make this the year of and the era of the non-governmental organization, and to really cement the connection between corporations, non-governmental organizations, and government. And they committed $500 billion so far to that. So, what is it? UN Agenda 21, Sustainable Development, is the biggest public relations scam in the history of the world. But it is far more than that. It's the agenda for the 21st century, and it is a recipe for destruction. It enables and justifies monitoring and metering and restricting our energy and water usage, and you'll see that as smart meters, right? Instituting a carbon tax on industry, pulverizing our roads and destroying our dams, sinking our economy, exhausting our military with endless war, diagnosing a huge portion of our population with mental illness and drugging us, bleeding our transportation budget with high-cost trains to nowhere, revamping the school system by inserting sustainable development principles into every course from pre-kindergarten all the way to postgraduate school, declaring our public lands off limits to humans, changing every land use document in the nation to require high-density housing in city centers to more easily monitor, surveil, and control us, allowing warrantless searches and seizures, domestic surveillance, identifying us as potential enemy combatants right here in our own country, and redefining torture. You know, if an enemy was trying to destroy us, it could not do a better job. This is the erection of a corporatocracy. You want to talk about the 1%? It's a global totalitarian state, and it is happening now. It's happening without any flashing lights. You're not going to see it called Agenda 21. You're going to see it called Dover 2023. You're going to see it called Granite State Future. You're going to see it called Scenic Byway. It's a stealth plan, and it's happening in plain sight. Now, here's how it works. Every takeover, because let's just call it what it is. By the way, I'm a liberal Democrat. I didn't check my brain at the door. I'm awake and aware. And if you also are a liberal or a Democrat or whatever, consider yourself on the left, I invite you to keep your mind open, because this is difficult to hear. And for anyone, this is difficult to hear and accept. But I invite you to listen, and I guarantee you, by the end of the day, you're going to look at each other and you're going to say, we are the resistance. So, every takeover has its own philosophy, and this one does too, and it's called Communitarianism. It's the overarching political and social philosophy that goes with this plan. It's Communitarianism. And what is that? It says that the individual's rights have to be balanced with the rights of the community. Now, we know we're Americans, right? Our Constitution guarantees us our individual rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, whatever that may be. We all seem to know what that is inside of ourselves. But communitarianism says that it's all for the common good, that the individual's rights need to be balanced with the rights of the community. Now, we don't know what the community's rights are because they're not delineated. They're not written anywhere. They can change at any time. They're those amorphous rights that can, it's living, it's growing, it's moving, it's changing, it's whatever they say it is. The community. Now, that could be Dover, that could be New Hampshire, that could be the region, that could be the world. That could be the global community, and it is generally what's meant. When people are talking about the community, they're talking about the global community. So you're going to balance your individual rights with the rights of the community, and guess what? The individual always loses. The community's rights are always heavier. There's more community than there is individual. We're all individuals, but together we're the community. Who speaks for us is the question, right? So think about this. The individual's rights are always like a feather. Community's rights are like a brick. And I like to do this visual. Some of you have seen me do this. And I like it because it really puts your mind in the way of what this actually looks like for us. So we're going to take two clear glasses, and one of them is a glass of water. A clear glass of water, and that is our constitutional republic. That's what we have here in the United States, right? And then we're going to take a clear glass of milk, and that's a communitarian state. And what is a communitarian state? Well, Nazi Germany, all for the fatherland. Communist Russia, communist China, it's all for the common good, right? So we're going to take that, that's the communitarian state. We're going to balance it with the constitutional republic. We're going to take a clear glass pitcher, put it down here, and we're going to balance them together. We're going to pour them together in the pitcher. What do you have? You got milk, right? You got milk. You have lost your individual rights. They've been subsumed into the rights of the community, the greater good. They have been outweighed by the rights of the community. Now, all of this is dependent on United Nations Agenda 21, Sustainable Development. It's dependent on the Hegelian dialectic. And before you like go, oh, it's pretty basic, okay? And this is what it is. It's that a crisis is created, okay? And then a solution is posed. The balance between these is the new normal. Now, you never would have agreed to that new normal if it weren't for that heavy crisis. But now you got to do something, right? You're in a panic. And now, without that crisis pressuring you, you would never have accepted that new solution. What is it? What's the crisis? What's the crisis? Global warming, climate change, global warming, right? That's it. Is it climate change or is it global warming? It's really a serious thing. It's so serious, we're losing our biodiversity. The planet is either burning up or freezing, I don't know which. Something really bad is happening. Water's rising. It's going to be, you're going to have to be on that tower. It's going to be the only place. Everybody's going to be on a snorkel out there. The planet's in danger. Oh, yeah. Okay. No time to lose. Right. 100 years, we're all going to be underwater. 100 years. Isn't that cool? They put it out 100 years. It's like, what are you going to call him a liar? You're dead. So, but, okay, we'll give him that for a minute. Panic, chaos, collapse. Okay? Here's what it looks like. Here's what it looks like. This is out of my local rag. Here it is. It says, it's hard to deny that the Earth is functioning well over capacity. Like an overworked horse, it's simply a matter of time before the global organism collapses. Feel that? Panic? Panic. What are we going to do? All intelligent people agree that it's our fault. It's your greedy, selfish, wasteful ways that have destroyed the planet. Almost. But now what? The United Nations to the rescue. That's right. We're going to save the planet. Yeah. The World Commission on Environment and Development, the Brundtland Commission in 1987, this is the United Nations Commission on Environment and Development in 1987. They came up with this book. It's called Our Common Future. Our Common Future for our community. Our Common Future, 1987. That's where sustainable development came from. Now everybody thinks they know what sustainable development is, right? You've all heard of sustainable development. You think you know what it is. I guarantee you go out and ask 10 people on the street what sustainable development is. You're going to get 10 different answers, and everybody's going to think they know. Where it came from, though, I bet you most people will not know, and that is from the United Nations. And what is it? Sustainable development. I had sustainable, I don't know, boxer shorts in my hotel room or something. I mean, there's everything sustainable development now, right? But sustainable development, the definition from the United Nations, from the Brundtland Commission, from Our Common Future, 1987, it is development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs. Well, that sounds good, doesn't it? I mean, you wouldn't want to compromise the ability of future generations to meet their needs. I mean, aren't we in one of the original 13 colonies? And can you imagine they came over here in whatever 16 something or other, I would know if I was from New Hampshire, and they said, you know, I think we're going to mess up our great-great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren just as badly as we possibly can. I mean, nobody's ever wanted to do that, right? So, your parents didn't, you don't want to, you're not going to want your kids. So, but here's the thing. The United Nations, of course, said, yes, indeed, we are compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs. And here's what we want. We want you, Rutland Commission, to come back in 5 years, in 1992, with the action plan for sustainable development. Help us save the planet. So they did. They came back, 1992, with Agenda 21. Here it is. This is it. It's a real thing, believe it or not. It is the Earth Summit, Agenda 21, the United Nations Program of Action from Rio de Janeiro. This is right from UN.org. You can buy your own copy, 25 bucks. 300 pages, 40 chapters. Covers every aspect of your life. But like I say, it itself is a green mask. It makes everything sound so pretty. It is an inventory and control plan. That's what it's about. So what's unsustainable? New Hampshire, I'll tell you. You're looking at it. The middle class, the affluent middle class lifestyle is unsustainable. Now, you may not think you're affluent or middle class, so you may think, oh, that was last week, not doing so good right now. But we have a long way to go down in this country, and I guarantee that you are the affluent middle class. And you know what's unsustainable? Single-family residences, private vehicles, appliances, air conditioning, meat eating, dams, tillage. You a farmer? You have one of those seed injection machines for 250,000 bucks? Tillage is considered unsustainable. Now, is this just my impression, my general feeling about this? No. This was said by Maurice Strong, the chair of the World Commission for Environment and Development, the Rutland Commission. He was the Secretary General of the UN at that time. Now, you may recall that he had to leave the country rather suddenly when he was busted on that oil for food scandal. Had to run off to China. Yeah, China has their own Agenda 21 policy. They were one of the signatories, right? What are they doing? They're working on a sterilization vaccine with the United States. So, now, there's a logo, a visual, that goes with Agenda 21, Sustainable Development. And it's in here if I can find it. It looks like it's a Venn diagram. It's 3 circles. It's like a piece of the Olympic symbol, okay? And hang on a second here. I can never find anything. Oh, thank you. Who wrote this fabulous book? Anyway, okay, here it is. I don't know if you can see it, but it's three circles, right? Where they come together in the middle, that's sustainable. So you've got social equity. Nobody should have any more than anybody else because that's not equitable. That's not fair. Economy and the environment. When everything's in balance, that's a jargon term. When everything's in balance, you've got sustainable development, right? That's sustainable. Getting that in balance, that's what this is all about. Okay, so what does this cover? Economics, housing, transportation, land use, health, water, energy, food production, and population control. Now it's based on, if you look at Agenda 21, you're going to see principle number 15. This thing is full of principles and guidelines and goals and the whole thing. So you're going to see principle number 15. Now this is why, if you're out there, you're talking about climate change, global warming, climate change. You say, well, I have 10 scientists over here who say it's bunk. No, I have 50 scientists. No, I've got 100. I have 1,000. I have 10,000. I have 50,000. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Because with the precautionary principle, check this out, okay? If an action or a policy has a suspected risk of causing harm to the public or the environment, suspected risk of causing harm to the public or the environment, in the absence of scientific consensus that the action is harmful, the burden of proof falls on the party taking the action. Pretty good, huh? You got to prove a negative. You have to prove you're guilty until proven innocent. Isn't that great? Yes, that's the precautionary approach. Now, in the EU, in the European Union, they use that to make law. In the United States, we call it the precautionary approach, not the precautionary principle, and it just makes policy for your life. So, that's pretty important, don't you think? This is a global plan, but it's implemented locally, as I said. You're going to see it all over when you start to know what you're supposed to look for, okay? It is, in fact, everywhere. Manufactured consensus is what you're going to see it as. You're going to see capacity building. They're going to call it capacity. They won't call it manufactured consensus. That's what it is. I'll tell you about that in a second. But here's words you might see. You're going to see vibrant, walkable, bikeable, livable, communities, strategies, right? You're going to see, oh my goodness, you're going to see strengthening community. See, these things are very Machiavellian, which means you say one thing and you mean the opposite. When they say that, they mean strengthening community, it means destroying real community, okay? Consensus building, that means, well, I'll tell you in a minute, okay? Transformation, change. Change, right? Remember that? What do I mean by that? I mean that change, as I said the other day, is not just something you got shaking around in your pocket, and it's not just something that is sort of like organically moving through life, you know, one thing flowing into the next. No, change is transformation. And what transformation is destruction of your existing way of life. And you know what? Don't think I don't know that this sounds crazy. This is crazy. I'm not crazy. I'm a reporter. This is really happening. So here's the deal. In 1992, George Bush signed on to this. It's an agreement in 1992. It's soft law. In November of 92, Clinton was elected. In January, he took office. In June of 1993, he created the President's Council on Sustainable Development. Okay? The President's Council on Sustainable Development. Now this is for all those people who say, UN Agenda 21, ha ha ha, it's the UN, it's way far from this country, it has nothing to do with us, it's a dusty 20-year-old plan, it has no impact, it has no teeth, it has no effect on us. That is a lie. Here's the truth. The President's Council on Sustainable Development was created in 1993 and it ran until 1999, and it was created solely for the only purpose, the sole purpose, to implement United Nations Agenda 21 Sustainable Development in the United States. That is all it was required to do, and it did. Made up of 12 federal agencies, 12 cabinet-level secretaries, including the Environmental Protection Agency, Education, Transportation, Agriculture, HUD, the Interior, who am I forgetting? Somebody, Defense. That's a big one. I said EPA already. You want to get up here and do it? Okay. I'm just kidding. Okay. Who else? You know, I'm kind of